Grace Camp. I'm Pastor Pat. Fall is full on us. The leaves are pretty much all off. The clocks have turned back, making it dark super early in the evening, especially in northern places like Montana. And there's a chilly wind blowing under the gray skies. It's perfect conditions for curling up on the couch and watching a little TV. I'm kind of in the mood for a good old-fashioned sitcom. What do you say? You want to join me?
That's Grandpa is filmed before a live studio audience, consisting of the cameraman.
You know, Axa, I've been thinking.
About time?
No, not about time. About a
Well,
field.
I'll field any questions you might have about one, Othniel.
Actually, Axa, I'd rather you question your father Caleb about one that I've had my eye on for quite a while.
Speaking of my father, Hatheth, have you seen Grandpa Caleb anywhere?
Last I saw him, he was using his binoculars to spy on the neighbors.
What? Again?
Well, that's Grandpa. Do you know what our neighbors are up to?
No, but I bet you do. Dad, you know that we have all talked to you about this spying that you do.
Oh, I know, sweetie, but I just can't help it. Moses sent me to spy out the land, and that's what I'm going to do.
That was 45 years ago.
Yeah, but he's never told me to stop. And he never will. He died 5 years ago. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time to stop. It's just tough when we're all crowded together like this. I think it's time we got some more room. I'd be happy with a field. What do you mean, Grandpa? Well, you remember how I spied out the land 45 years ago?
How could we forget? You're still doing it. Just ask our neighbors.
Everyone but Joshua and me said there was no way that we could take it. The people here were too strong, but we said with God, we could. All the people chose to listen to the other spies instead of us, and we ended up wandering around in the wilderness for 40 years. Now, I'm not one to tell them I told you so.
That's because everyone that you could say it to died in the wilderness.
That does make it more difficult. Moses promised me that because I had wholeheartedly followed the Lord, I would inherit the land that I had walked on when I was spying it out. Didn't he also promise it to your descendants? I'm pretty sure he also promised it to Grandpa's descendants. And that would be us.
Don't worry, you little terror. You'll get what's coming to you.
Maybe even a field. Well, I think it's time I went out and took what I'm supposed to get. What we're supposed to get.
Dad, you can't be serious. You're 85 years old.
I may be 85, but I'm just as strong as I was on the day that Moses sent us out. Wow, Grandpa. You were 1 weak 40-year-old. Remember that inheritance you were hoping to get? I mean, what you could do in 1 week as a 40-year-old, most other people would take a year to accomplish. I am just as vigorous to go to battle now as I ever was. I will drive out those standing in the way of what God has promised. How are you going to drive them out? Didn't they take away your license because you're too old? Doesn't your brother need help with his homework?
Dad, there is no way that you can do this. Tell him, Othniel.
Well, if he took the land, I would have better odds of getting that field.
Othniel.
I said if, which is obviously not going to happen.
I mean, we are talking about taking hill country here, which is very difficult to take. Plus, hills make lousy fields. Right. And the Anakites live there, and their cities are large and fortified.
And who goes to battle at 85 years old? I mean, they already took away his driver's license, so he can't even drive over to the battlefield. What's he gonna do? Carpool there? I guess he could take the bus, but I don't think they allow swords on those.
So you see, Dad, you just need to drop this whole ridiculous idea. Dad? Dad? Where did he go?
I'm back.
Dad, where did you
I was
go?
just out conquering Hebron. You guys seem pretty caught up in your conversation, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Wait, you just went out and conquered Hebron? Just like that?
Yep. I talked to Joshua earlier, and he said it was fine. And since I knew that God had promised it, all I had to do was go out and take it for me.
For us.
Yes, I meant for us.
Well, I wish you would have told me that you were going out.
Why? So you could try to stop me?
Nah, I would have had you do me a special favor and stop at the store to get me some spring water. I just can't believe that you did that. Can you, Othniel?
Nope. Well, I can.
What? Why?
Because that's Grandpa. What a great show. It made me laugh, and like all the great family sitcoms of the 80s and 90s, it had a little moral thrown in as well. And I really liked this moral. Did you catch what it was? If God calls you to do something, trust Him and do it. No excuses. Caleb, who was a real person, by the way, you can read about him in Numbers chapters 13 and 14 and Joshua chapters 14 and 15, as well as being mentioned in other places in the Bible. He had a lot of excuses to not do what God had told him to do. First, when he was younger and appointed as a spy to check out the Promised Land, he discovered that there were all kinds of big, strong people already living there. The other spies said not to attempt to take it, and the people of Israel actually threatened to kill Caleb for insisting that they, with God's help, could do it. But Caleb stood his ground. Later, when he was 85 years old and finally living in the Promised Land, there was an area of the land that no one had been able to conquer yet. Caleb, despite being 85 years old, said he would do it because God had promised the land to him and his descendants. It was hill country, which would be hard to take. The cities were large and fortified. The people there, strong. But Caleb trusted God and did it. No excuses. That's the kind of person God is looking for. When God called Jeremiah to be a prophet, he was just a young boy. Jeremiah thought that he couldn't do what God had told him to. In Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 6 through 8, we read his response to God's call and God's answer. "Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am too young. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord." There are always going to be reasons why we shouldn't do what God has told us to do. Others disagree with us. We're too young or too old. We're not strong enough. It's too hard, or it sounds crazy. But God is looking for people who will say yes to Him, no matter what. What is God calling you to do? And what will be your answer? Will you try to find excuses to not do it? Or will you say yes and trust He'll make the way? Caleb trusted God, and it led to great things. Let's see what happens when we say yes. I'm Pastor Pat with Base Camp, a ministry of Summit Church in beautiful Bozeman, Montana.
Thanks for joining us today. If you want more information about Summit Church, including service times, you can check out our website at summitchurchmt.com. You can also watch our services and other videos online on YouTube and Facebook. On both sites, we're located at Summit Church MT. Our kids' Facebook page is Basecamp Kids Min. As always, when watching our videos, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share them. It only takes one little click to do so. So, no excuses. Go out and do what God has called you to do. He'll make the way. Just trust Him. Remember, He picked you for a reason. Bye.
Most sitcoms families have some kind of wacky neighbor?
Yup.
Well, that explains why I was spying on him. Nice suspenders.